Thursday, Sleepy Joe finally woke the hell up. President Biden delivered the State of the Union, and he honestly kind of crushed it. Biden's speech was great, but you could also tell the bar was very low. The New York Post's headline was just, "He's alive." That's it. That's like a headline you see about Bigfoot.
Ah, yes. They're trying here and there. Joe Biden has to go. We got the New York Times. They got these flip-flopping New York Times people, just awful people, terrible people. But even one of their lead fluffers for the DNC saying, well, Joe Biden, a couple of weeks ago, he said Joe Biden's got to go. Really, he's got to find some excuse to get out. But then he changed his mind. He doesn't want the IRS crawling up into his cavities. So then he wrote something saying, no, Joe Biden's real good. Don't worry about Joe Biden. He's just fine. And Joe Biden said that illegal alien gang members who murder girls built this country. So Joe Biden said, and he's got everybody's back except white people. He's got the black people better than Barack Obama. That's what he said while he was being fluffed, having an act of journalistic gratification performed upon him with knee pads and everything by Jonathan Capehart of the Washington Post. And this act of journalistic gratification was an embarrassment to Western civilization. Should be an embarrassment to the Democrats, but they're unembarrassable. To Joe Biden, he's obviously unembarrassable. And did you see that CPAP machines, brand new scientific discovery? We just learned a couple of weeks ago that Joe Biden sleeps with a CPAP machine on his face. And the latest is that if you have sleep apnea, this is a pretty good sign that you're going to have memory issues. You're going to sleep apnea, memory issues, sleep memory issues, Joe Biden. Sleep apnea, memory issues, Joe Biden, because Joe Biden, his brain, she's a no good of his, and we've got that. Yeah, but Joe Biden, he said he's really sorry. He regrets saying the word illegal when describing a murderer who's an illegal alien, and still nothing for the family. Capehart accidentally used her name, Laken Riley. Say her name. But amazing stuff. So the Joe Biden interview is one for the books. Joe Biden is one for the books, too. Just extraordinary stuff. We are, of course, at 888-630-9625. Yeah, and he says, Joe Biden, he told Jonathan Capehart, fluffer from the Washington Post, journalistic gratification. And he said, oh, yeah, I've got your back. Jonathan Capehart is black. And so I've got your back. And more than any president since LBJ, who famously used the N-word all over the place and was a famous racist. And by the way, didn't Joe Biden serve as vice president for 8 years to the first black president, Barack Hussein Obama? And Barack Obama didn't have the back of black people the way that Joe Biden does, even though he didn't want his kids going to school in a racial jungle. And he, according to him, those are his words, when they were racially integrating schools in Delaware over his objections, because he didn't want his kids going to school with black kids. Racial jungle, use the word jungle. But when you're a Democrat, that washes away. There's nothing is on your permanent record unless it's good. Great stuff. Oh, yeah, speaking of which, we got, anybody remember Bill Clinton sexually assaulting Juanita Brownrigg and Paula Jones and of course, the intern at the White House, Monica Lewinsky, and a long list of women groped and sexually assaulted by Bill Clinton. Amazing stuff. George Stephanopoulos, forgot all about that, even though George Stephanopoulos worked in Bill Clinton's White House. And George Stephanopoulos had an interview yesterday that, again, was an embarrassment, not just to journalism, but to Western civilization, to decency, to the Enlightenment. It's a pretty amazing interview with Nancy Mace. No sense of irony, I've been saying for a long time now. The Democrats have no sense of irony. And George Stephanopoulos sits there with a straight face, lies, what is it, 10 times misrepresents the lawsuit against President Trump. Lies and lies and lies and lies. And that's why they pay him $17 million a year, because he can lie with a straight face like that while standing on his chair with his little fists held high in the air. Yeah, that's an amazing interview, too. So we've got that going. Remarkable stuff. Joe Biden, big loser weekend. What a loser. I'm telling you. Yes, sir. The fact checks, a couple of fact checkers finally got around to looking at a couple of things in his State of the Union address, which I was fact checking within minutes of his lying about it. His 12 million new jobs. What a lying Sacagawea this guy is, honestly. And big headline today, Biden's reference to an illegal upsets some Democrats, but they say they're still sticking with him. That's because they're a lynch mob and they're anti-American. Oh, yeah, what do you hear? Joe Biden, he's got everybody's back. He said, oh, yeah, I got you. You black people. I got your back more than Barack Hussein Obama ever did. You got to go all the way back to LBJ. Got us into Vietnam up to our eyeballs. Racist. Used the N-word. Said, I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for 100 years. And now Joe Biden and the Democrats get to pretend, oh, yeah, LBJ really had your back. Sure. Yeah, those were the good old days. And remarkable stuff. And Joe Biden, he said he's also got the back of Hispanics. He means mostly Venezuelan gang members that murder nursing students. He's got their back. If that's you, he's got your back. And he said Asians, too, right? Who Democrats are excluding from Ivy League schools and from, even STEM high schools like Thomas Jefferson, because Asians do too well, so the Democrats got to tie an anchor to them and hold them back, throw them off the side of the boat. That's how they've got your back. But he said, I've got your back because you're black. And the Democrat Party, again, the party of bullwhips and lynching trees, the party of Jim Crow and schoolhouse doors. But never mind that. He's also got the back of illegal alien gang members from Venezuela. He just says, what does he say? Hispanics? He says Hispanics. And Asians. And he says, that's another lie. Just lie. Just keep talking, keep lying. Amazing stuff. But he conspicuously, who did he leave out, Michael? Aleuts, Native Americans. How dare you don't have the back of Native Americans, you racist. He did leave out white people, though. He doesn't have the backs of white people. Just people who are not white. And he's the whitest, pastiest, chalkiest, dustiest person that's ever been in the Oval Office, at least to sit behind the Resolute desk. Amazing stuff. Yes, sir. But, yeah, Dems cringe at Biden calling migrant, quote, an illegal, end quote, at State of the Union. That's what they cringe at. Not that they've got an open border that's leading to the murders of people all over the country and the rapes at knife point and the kidnappings. That's all fine, and 100,000 fatal drug overdoses a year. That's fine. What makes them cringe, because death is their bag. They love death more than we love life, just like Al-Qaeda used to say about themselves. Yeah, but they cringe when he uses the word illegal in reference to an illegal alien who's been arrested for murder. That's what really makes them cringe. They're mental. Biden, sorry, he said, illegal at State of the Union. He tells MSDNC. Amazing stuff. And then moments later, he went back out and said more ridiculously embarrassing things. And the news media cleans it up for him because we live in North Korea. Our news media is somewhere between Soviet Russia with TASS and Izvestia and Pravda and today's North Korean news media. It's not the news media in Iran under the Ayatollahs is more legitimate than the news media we have, than Jake Tapper, for example, who is just a chapstick-wearing fluffer for the Democrat Party. Just amazing. Yeah, Biden drops embarrassing gaffes days after liberal media hypes his State of the Union performance. And there's how many? At least 3 different really ridiculous gaffes by Joe Biden that would be embarrassing to anybody with 2 brain cells to rub together. But never mind that. And this is great. A forensic psychiatrist named Dr. Carol Lieberman says that watching the State of the Union, she concluded that Joe Biden was medicated. You know, things to amp him up and get his brain, not just Prevagen, not just the over-the-counter stuff, but he's doing like, and I mentioned it the day after the State of the Union, like he broke into Hunter's stash, went down to that locker room in the White House and got something to jack him up because it looked like he was doing bumps before he walked out to the podium. He's jacked up and he's screaming, he's yelling, he's grinding his teeth, and he's talking fast. And yeah, that's the normal Joe Biden. Now, he's jacked up on amphetamines. He's got Dr. Feelgood in the house like John F. Kennedy used to. That was to keep him jacked up for his dates when his wife wasn't looking, but amazing stuff. Also, the Gold Star father that was arrested and charged by the U.S. Capitol Police disgracefully during the State of the Union, whose son was murdered by jihadi radicals who were allowed to kill 13 Americans because of Joe Biden's bad ideas. Bad idea, Joe. And it turns out the story is even more terrible than we thought. The Gold Star father who lost his son in Afghanistan, in Kabul, during the botched withdrawal by Joe Biden, it turns out that was his younger son that died in Afghanistan, was murdered by the troglodytes. His older son then went to the grave of his younger brother and committed suicide a year later. And the Democrats are charging Dad with crimes because they're Hitler, I think is the short version. Amazing stuff. Yeah, and I mentioned the Biden sleep apnea. The president started using a CPAP machine, and dementia is the headline. They love their colons. Can sleep apnea contribute to memory issues? You bet. I got a little Liz Cheney update. She's ridiculous. And I mentioned George Snuffleupagus on ABC, a Democrat Party propagandist who has no business in journalism whatsoever, but ABC News pays him $17 million a year. Battles Nancy Mace in explosive showdown. That's the left-wing headline. About her backing Trump. Honestly, George Stephanopoulos backs a serial rapist named Bill Clinton. And by the way, Joe Biden sexually assaulted Tara Reid, who doesn't feel safe in the United States anymore, so she left the country. Remarkable stuff. Byron York took on George Stephanopoulos and hit him right between the eyes with some facts and the truth. I'll share that with you as well. Also, did you see the cannibal in Haiti? Haiti. You know, the Clintons, they went to Haiti and they fixed Haiti over and over again. It's been fixed real good, Haiti. And now the prime minister has fled the country. Violent gangs have taken over. One of the big, and they've taken over the airport. They've taken over all the government buildings been taken over by gangs with military-style rifles, and some of them are cannibals. That is to say, they set people on fire and tear pieces of their flesh off and eat pieces of their flesh, because and that now we've opened our borders. The gangs have taken over the country of Haiti. And they already are. We've got record numbers of Haitians flooding into the United States across our southern border. The Democrats are ringing the dinner bell for the cannibal gangs of Haiti. I don't know if you saw the video over the weekend. I think they might have tried to pull the video of this cannibal eating a burning man in Haiti. And the head of one of the big gangs that's taken over, his name is Barbecue. He goes by it's a nickname, and it's Barbecue. His name is Barbecue. And he heads a gang of cannibals because cannibalism lives. And the Democrats support it. You white people who give us electricity and cancer cures, you're the problem. Air travel and, instantaneous global communication, you're the real problem. Amazing stuff. The anti-Semitism lives where Democrats reside. Middlebury, radical left-wing elitists, namby-pamby. I'll keep the other words I'm thinking to myself. Middleburg College, where I know a number of people that went there. They're all liberals. Tried to host a vigil for the victims in Israel of October 7th, the attack that murdered all those people. And the administrator said, oh, no, I don't think we should have the word Jewish in there because, and then he started dancing around, jumping up, down, screaming, kill the Jews, kill the Jews. And I made up the last part, but only the last part. And Joe Biden is going to somehow magically build a port in the Gaza to fund and fuel radical Islamic jihadi terrorists who are genocidal anti-Semites. And Joe Biden is on their side because, there are votes in Michigan that he's concerned about. So he's saddled up with the jihad. Pretty amazing stuff. Yes, sir. Yep. And great stuff, Elon Musk and Senate Democrat siding with an illegal immigrant over American citizens on voting power. The Democrats are bringing back 3/5 of a person, which they gave us the first time around, the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is America's oldest racist organization. Not the KKK, because they gave us the KKK. So we've got that. Yeah, Haiti has gone mad. It's collapsing. And we've got how many millions? Well, we're waiting for millions to land on our shore. The cannibals, all that stuff. Yes, sir. And can you fly an American flag on your pickup truck if you're a high school student in Indiana? Well, that depends on how many Democrats are around, violent mob of criminals that they are. Just scratching the surface on a few things we've got for you today. We are at 888-630-9625. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. All right, and the red lapel, we had the Oscars last night, too. We actually had it on the TV. We were ignoring it and reading and doing other stuff, but it was on here and there. And they had these red lapel pins. There is a story behind these red lapel pins. As you can imagine, it's not like rah-rah, America's a great place. But I will share that with you. The black vote, the Democrats, the terrorist vote, they got that terror vote locked up. But they're miffed with him now, so they got to pander more to the jihad, the Democrats. Let's grab a phone call while we have a moment here. Let's go to Mike calling from Gainesville, Virginia. Michael, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Well, good Monday morning, Chris Plant. Good to talk to you.
Welcome.
We all have to recognize, I think, that this term undocumented newcomer is what they're going to jam down our throats next. You know, we went from having illegal immigration and illegal aliens, which kind of made sense, to now we're talking about these people just being here, you know, sort of haphazardly. They're just newcomers.
Right. Yeah, everything is, it's the manipulation of the language. And the left, with their information dominance in the media and in academia, they love the manipulation of language. And they've been at it for a long, long time, at least a half century in the United States. They've been at the manipulation of language to frame political arguments. They're pro-choice. You're anti-abortion, right? No, I'm pro-life, and you're pro-death. But because of the information dominance that they enjoy and the likes of George Stephanopoulos and the rest of that cabal, the manipulation of language is very, very important. Newcomers, why are you mean to newcomers? I'm not mean to newcomers, but I'm not opening the door and waving in gang members from Venezuela just released from prison with tattoos all over their face to murder everybody because I'm on the side of civilization. But dominating the conversation is key, no doubt. Now, the story, if you watched the Oscars last night, and most people did not, of course, because fewer and fewer people watch every year, but there were a lot of, and I noticed that this really dim-witted, thick-skulled, and I think mediocre actor Mark Ruffalo was sitting in the audience thinking he was going to win an Oscar, and he didn't, and that's good. But he was wearing this kind of red, it looks almost like the red poppy that you might wear on Memorial Day, right, on your lapel. And I looked at it and I noticed it. It's kind of large and it's on his lapel. Then I noticed a lot of other actors and Hollywood people were wearing these red pins. And if you ask the New York Times, they'll tell you that they were wearing a pin, these red pins, as a call for a ceasefire. Now, it's a red hand, as it turns out. And it looks like it's round, like a poppy or something, but it's not. It's a hand. It's in the shape of a human hand, and it's red. Now, that would be like blood on your hands, right? That'd be blood on your hands. And the New York Times is telling you, oh, yeah, on Oscar's carpet, red pins worn to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Billie Eilish, Mark Ruffalo, Ava DuVernay, and others wear the bright red circles. They're actually in the shape of a hand, designed and distributed by Artists for Ceasefire, right? but 4 is the number and not written out as the word because illiteracy is the order of the day. And the New York Times is going to tell you, oh, yeah, they care very deeply about the ceasefire. They don't give a flying hoot about 500,000 dead in Ukraine and Russia, or slavery being active with militias in Sudan, where the civil war has killed tens of thousands, but pay no attention to that. The hundreds of thousands killed in Syria, the hundreds of thousands killed in Yemen in their civil wars, pay no attention to that. They demand a ceasefire to save the terrorists who are genocidal anti-Semites, right? That's the thing. Now, here's the background story, that the New York Times is too dishonest, too intellectually and journalistically lazy, or too dishonest to publish. It turns out that the red hand pin, the red hand symbol, actually comes out of Hamas and the Palestinians, and it goes back to the year 2000, 24 years ago now, when a gang of Hamas-type Gaza Palestinians grabbed 2 Israelis and lynched them and butchered them and murdered them. And then one of the murderers went to the windows in his apartment building and held his hands up. I'm holding my hands up, like hands up, don't shoot. And stuck his hands out the window, and his hands were covered in blood. And the bloodthirsty crowd, the genocidal crowd, they cheered. They cheered the bloody hands on the murderer as the murderer put his bloody hands out the window. And the murderous gang of savages cheered the bloody hands. And the bloody hands became a symbol of killing the Jews. And last night, the ignorant expletives deleted at the Oscars, who call themselves liberals and think that they're enlightened representatives of the American left, what they're really doing is carrying forward a symbol of genocidal terrorists who lynched 2 Israelis in the year 2000, and that is fine. Now, that's before even September 11th, 2001, of course, and the beginning of the West finally engaging the jihad to try to snuff out the savagery that is radical Islam. But never mind that. So that's what that is what the Hollywood people were wearing last night. But they're not smart enough to know that what they're wearing is not what they think it is, because they're Hollywood people, you know. And Hollywood people are famously stupid, right? That's been true for a long, long time. Yeah, so it's a red circle, and in the middle of the red circle, there is a red hand. And ironically, absurdly, in the middle of that, there's a little black heart. Well, they do have black hearts and bloody hands. So I guess in some way that's appropriate. But these Hollywood people, because you know what they say about, you know, Hollywood and Washington. Washington is Hollywood for ugly people. That's what they say, right? Because they're all on TV, and I've told you it's all a terrible television show. Washington is Hollywood for ugly people, and Hollywood is Washington for stupid people. That's the old saying. I've been going back and forth like that for some time. So there it is. It's a bloody hand that is a symbol that comes from the lynching of 2 Israelis decades ago that the troglodytes in the Gaza still celebrate. And now the moron troglodytes in California, the Hollywood set, they too are celebrating a lynching, a double lynching. And the Democrat Party is and always has been the party of lynching too. So let's keep that in mind as well. Just amazing. And they don't have it. And there are even, you know, the pictures are still out there of these troglodytes in 2000 at the window cheering with their bloody hands while the crowd raves and, yeah, you killed the Jews. You lynched them. You drenched yourself in their blood. And the Hollywood set is such a gang of ignorant expletives deleted that this is what they're advancing. It could be the drugs, but I don't think it's all attributable to the drugs. Now let's go to Joe Biden, because he is not the smartest man in the world. That is very generous, I've got to say. And I've got some Haiti for you, too. The prime minister fled Haiti. The gangs have taken over the country. They've got a cannibal gang headed by a guy named Barbecue, who Joe Biden would call a newcomer, and the Democrats would all call a newcomer to the United States. And we've got more Haitians spilling across our border. Wasn't that thing on horseback where Joe Biden said they were using whips? That was Haitians, right? Think there are any cannibals in that group? It's hard to say. Pretty amazing stuff. Yeah, and the number of Haitians coming across. Well, we've had just so far since October, more than 85,000 Haitians have come across our southern border. 85,000. That's a city. And that's okay because Democrats. I'm telling you. All right, let's go to Joe Biden, who is very severely mentally impaired. And I mean no slight to other people who are very severely mentally impaired, because you're probably not the president of the United States. Joe Biden, you may remember at the State of the Union, it was Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene that stood up, and she had already passed Joe Biden a button with Laken Riley's name on it as he was coming down the aisle in his never-ending trek down the aisle after being 20 minutes late. And in part because, oh, by the way, the pro-Palestinian, the pro-Hamas people were yelling and screaming outside the Oscars last night, hundreds, if not thousands of them, and they delayed the start of the program because they're pro-genocide, they're pro-bloody hands, and they love it. Joe Biden at the State of the Union the other night.
It's not about him. It's not about me.
He's angry.
I'd be a winner. Not really.
I'd be a winner, not really. Then she gets interrupted. Say the name Laken Riley.
Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley.
An innocent young woman who was killed.
And a basketball
by
coach.
an illegal.
A football coach, rather.
That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals?
Yeah, but how many
To
thousands
her parents,
people?
I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand.
Yeah, your son, Bo, died in his 50s of brain cancer many decades later. That's very sad, and you did have a sad, but it's got nothing to do with your open border, illegal alien Venezuelan gang members murdering nursing students in Georgia, you moron. Yeah, 415,000 Americans died in World War II, but what does that have to do with anything? That's not what we're talking about, is it? This is what liberals always do. Change the subject and attack. Now you're talking about something else altogether. Then Joe Biden sat down over the weekend with world-class fluffer Jonathan Capehart, who had just an extra coat of lipstick for this interview with Joe Biden. On MSDNC, they pay him huge sums of money, NBC News does, to ask great questions like this. And he didn't say, well, let's talk about Laken Riley and the illegal aliens. Do you bear any responsibility? What about all the crimes going on being perpetrated by illegal aliens? No, he challenges him on using the word illegal for an illegal alien murderer, probable gang member whose brother is apparently definitely a gang member out of Venezuela. And this is what the news media does for you when you're a Democrat.
You know, I noticed the look of surprise on your face when you walked into the chamber and you saw Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was priceless. You feigned shock at seeing her.
That didn't happen.
During your response to her heckling of you, you used the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented.
That was the only mention of Laken Riley's name was by, is he transgender technically? Jonathan Capehart of the Washington Post. And Joe Biden, I shouldn't have said illegal to talk about. I wouldn't want to hurt the feelings of the murderers or the gang members that are spilling out of prisons in Latin America and coming here to murder nursing students. I understand why you'd take umbrage with my using the word illegal, which is not as polite as it could have been when describing the murderer of a 22-year-old young woman, devastating her family and obviously killing her. By the way, President Trump was spending time with her family and dad, I think it was dad, wearing a MAGA hat. And the Democrats, you know, they're a lynch mob, and they're out to, I shouldn't have, I regret using that word. That's the real problem there. Not the murder. They're not upset about the murder. They're not upset that she was murdered by an illegal alien who shouldn't have been in the country, but was because of Joe Biden's policies and Democrat Party policies. That they're not concerned about. But again, headline after headline, The Democrats are fuming that the word illegal was used to describe an illegal alien who is now in jail for murdering a 22-year-old young woman who apparently never did anything wrong in her entire life and had her head smashed in to the point where it was no longer shaped like a head. And that is the issue that they want to take is with the use of the word illegal. Texas Dems cringe at Biden calling immigrant, quote, an illegal, end quote, at State of the Union. The Texas Tribune. Joe Biden being fluffed by Jonathan Capehart.
When I spoke about the difference between Trump and me, one of the things I talked about on the border was that the way he talks about vermin, the way he talks about these people polluting the blood. I talked about what I'm not going to do, what I won't do. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look,
Respect.
They built the country. The reason our economy is growing. We have to control the border and a more orderly flow, but I don't share his view at all.
A more orderly flow.
You regret using that word.
Yes.
He gives him the word regret. Biden didn't volunteer the word regret. Capehart, so you regret, and that was set up beforehand with the White House because it's a circle fest and a hot tub. It's all a terrible television show. The Democrat Party owns the television network. It's extraordinary. So you regret isn't, but wait a minute, because he said, and I kind of stepped on it a little bit, he said that illegal alien gang members that murder nursing students built this country.
I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country.
He wouldn't treat anybody with disrespect because illegal alien gang members from Venezuela who murder young women built this country. These people are really mentally deranged. They're unwell. They're psychologically unwell, not just Joe Biden. But now they want to bring cannibals in from Haiti because that'll make everything better. It really is just extraordinary how corrupt they are. Amazing. Fundamentally, morally, ethically. An illegal alien from gang-ridden Venezuela murdered an innocent 22-year-old nursing student in Georgia. The entire Democratic Party's fury is focused on the fact that he was called an illegal. Just amazing. Joe Biden, he's unwell.
Pelosi's the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pelosi. Pelosi is the next one. Thank you. That is, I just want, he calls them mean names. I'll never be mean to people that are murdering nursing students that are gang members with neck tattoos revealing their gang affiliations. And Nancy Pelosi, of course, she's well, shouldn't have used that word.
Now, you should have said undocumented, but that's not a big thing, okay? What's the big thing about it?
No, I actually wasn't even going to ask about that. I was just going to ask more about the moment. But you do think that he should have said undocumented? That wasn't going to be my question.
Well, we usually say undocumented. He said illegal. I don't think it's a big deal.
Okay.
I don't think it's a big deal.
We usually say undocumented. We usually say illegal alien murderer gang members from Venezuela who apparently should have been gunned down from attack helicopters while they were trying to sneak into the country if we knew who they were and their character, but we don't check to see who they are before the Democrats wave them into the country. They're just very angry that Greg Abbott puts them on buses and sent them to New York and Chicago while they were flying hundreds of thousands of them aboard airplanes to 43 different airports across the country, but they won't tell us. Also, that was Dana Bash. Oh, I wasn't going to ask that question. Am I still invited to have some $14 ice cream from your $25,000 freezer at Christmas time or Hanukkah or maybe the 4th of July? Cause please, am I? I wasn't going to ask, really, I wasn't going to ask. So she volunteers. He shouldn't have used that word. She's licking her gums and her teeth. Shouldn't have used that. That's not the word. We want to be as polite as possible to murderous gang members from Venezuela while we demonstrate that we couldn't give a flying hoot about the 22-year-old girl that was murdered by the animal that the Democrats waved into the country without bothering to check their gang affiliations. Dementia Joe has got to go. Telling you. In fact, at the Chris Plant store on Al Gore's amazing internet, we have an excellent T-shirt Brain Dead Joe has got to go. Got a little tasteful Chris Plant Show logo, but it's very tasteful. Brain Dead Joe has got to go is on the gray T-shirt. Looks nice. Good-looking T-shirt. Yes, indeed. All right, let's take a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Bob, calling from Wilmington, North Carolina. Oh, Bob, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
Hey, Bob.
I was listening to you earlier, and you said about the president's State of the Union address, and I saw that, too, and I thought it was a bit amped up more than usual.
Yes.
And I thought about it, and I have experience with this, and I thought they might have, and this is purely speculative on my part, but I thought maybe they would give him a little bit of a stimulant like Ritalin prior. And that would, sometimes in the elderly, you'll do that when they come in with lack of energy.
Yeah.
Things like that.
No, you're right.
They did the same thing with, and, I don't want to go into it too much because I don't want to end up with a horse's head in my bed tonight, but they did the same thing with Hitler, and that's probably why he was amped up on cocaine, opiates, methamphetamine. That's why he made such incredibly bad decisions during the war.
Yeah, you're right. And a lot of the Nazi leadership and some of their special units were amped up on amphetamines much of the time. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Absolutely right. And there is I mentioned it in passing earlier, but a forensic psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Carol Lieberman is on the record speaking to the Washington Times. And she has worked with elderly dementia patients in the past. She watched the State of the Union. She said that President Biden demonstrated the classic signs of a stimulated older man to mask cognitive decline. So they drugged him up. John F. Kennedy traveled with Dr. Feelgood. Dr. Feelgood was on his staff and injected him with amphetamines and amped him up. And he had back issues and pain issues with his back. He had injured his back more than once. But now Joe Biden, psychiatrist, said looked like he was all amped up on drugs.